The mining ship cut through the darkness of space like a blade through silk. Captain Day One stood on the bridge, watching the blue planet grow larger on the screen. Earth. He had heard stories about it since he was young, but never thought he would actually see it. The planet looked peaceful, covered in green and blue, with white clouds drifting across its surface. "Captain, the sensors are picking up the warning beacons again," said Hannah from her station. She was his best scout officer, young but sharp. "They're broadcasting in over 40 different languages. All of them say the same thing. Stay away." Day One waved his hand dismissively. "Those beacons are 3,000 years old? Relics from a dead species. The Galactic Council gave us permission to mine this system. We're not doing anything wrong." Hannah bit her lip but said nothing more. She had learned that arguing with the captain was pointless once he made up his mind. The Vraxian Empire needed resources, and the Sol system had plenty of them. The asteroid belt was rich with minerals. The moons had ice and rare elements. It was a treasure waiting to be claimed. The fleet of 12 mining ships moved into position around Earth's moon. Day One watched as the massive drilling platforms descended to the surface. Within hours, they would be extracting tons of valuable materials. Within weeks, he would be promoted. Within months, he would be rich. "Begin operations," he ordered. The drills bit into the lunar surface with a sound that traveled through the ship's hull. Deep below, in the moon's crust, ancient sensors registered the vibration. Data traveled at the speed of light to Earth, to a facility that had been silent for millennia. 3 days passed. The mining operation went smoothly. Day One was pleased with the progress reports. His crew was efficient and the equipment worked perfectly. He began to relax, thinking that all the warnings about Earth had been exaggerated stories meant to scare children. Then Hannah called him to her station in the middle of the night cycle. "Captain, you need to see this." Her face was pale, her hands trembling slightly as she worked the controls. The main screen showed an energy reading from Earth's Pacific Ocean. It was deep, nearly 11 kilometers below the surface, in a trench that the old human maps called Mariana. The energy signature was enormous, far larger than anything their ships could produce. "It just turned on," Hannah said quietly. 20 minutes ago. It's been dormant all this time, and now it's active." Day One stared at the readings. His confidence wavered for a moment, then returned. "Probably just a volcanic vent. The planet is geologically active. Nothing to worry about." "Captain, volcanic vents don't emit coherent energy pulses. This is technology. Very advanced technology." Before Day One could respond, every screen on the bridge changed. The mining reports vanished. The navigation displays went dark. In their place, a single message appeared in perfect Vraxian script. "Unauthorized presence detected in Sol system. Primary defense protocols initiating. You have 72 hours to vacate this system. This is your only warning." The bridge fell silent. Day One felt his blood turn cold. He had never seen anything like this. The message was coming from Earth, from something that had been waiting in the darkness of the ocean for 3,000 years. "Send a report to Imperial Command," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Tell them we've encountered an automated defense system. Request instructions." The message went out. Hours passed with agonizing slowness. When the response finally came, it was not what Day One expected. "Continue operations. The humans are extinct. This is merely an old computer system with no real power. If it becomes a problem, destroy it. Do not abandon a profitable mining operation because of ancient ghosts." Day One read the orders 3 times. Part of him wanted to obey. Another part, the part that had kept him alive through 20 years in space, screamed at him to run. "What are your orders, Captain?" asked Hannah. He looked at his crew. They were watching him, waiting. If he retreated now, he would be labeled a coward. His career would be over. The Empire did not reward fear. "We continue mining," he said. "Double the guard shifts. Keep all weapon systems on standby. But we continue." The 72 hours ticked away like drops of water falling into an abyss. Day One barely slept. He kept watching the energy readings from Earth. The signature grew stronger each day. Pulsing like a heartbeat, like something waking from a very long sleep. On the final day, with just 2 hours remaining, he ordered his fleet to move away from the moon. He told himself it was just a precaution, a tactical repositioning. But he knew the truth. He was afraid. The countdown reached 0 for 10 seconds. Nothing happened. Day 1 began to breathe again. It had been a bluff, just an automated system trying to scare them away. There was nothing to fear. Then the ocean moved. Every sensor on every ship in the fleet locked onto the same point in the Pacific. The water was churning, boiling, rising up in a column that reached toward the sky. The energy reading spiked so high that several monitoring systems simply shut down to protect themselves. Something was rising from the deep dot. It took 6 hours for the structure to fully emerge. Day 1 watched in horror as it grew larger and larger on the screens. It was massive beyond comprehension, a fortress of crystalline material that caught the sunlight and scattered it into rainbows. The structure was the size of a small continent, rising from the ocean floor to tower above the waves. "What is that?" whispered one of the crew members. Hannah was working frantically at her station, trying to scan the structure. "I can't get clear readings. It's blocking our sensors." "But Captain, the energy output is incredible. This thing could power 1,000 cities." A new message appeared on their screens. This time it was not text. It was a voice, deep and calm, speaking perfect Vraxian. "I am Guardian O1, Defense System of Earth and Protector of Humanity's Birthright. You were given fair warning. You chose to ignore it. I am now authorized to use all necessary force to remove you from this system. You have one final chance. Leave now, or I will make you leave." Day 1's hand hovered over the communication panel. He should respond. He should try to negotiate. He should do something. But fear had frozen him in place. In the end, it was pride that made him act. He thought of the Empire watching, of his superiors judging him, of the shame of retreat. He made the worst decision of his life. "All ships target that structure. Fire on my command." The weapons fired. 12 mining ships unleashed everything they had at the crystalline fortress rising from Earth's ocean. Plasma bolts, kinetic missiles, and laser beams crossed the distance in seconds. The crew watched their targeting screens, waiting to see the structure crumble. The weapons stopped 3 kilometers away from the Guardian. They simply stopped. The missiles froze in midair as if caught by invisible hands. The energy beams bent away, curving around the structure like water flowing around a stone. For 5 seconds, all of Day 1's firepower hung suspended in space. Completely harmless. Then the weapons fell into the ocean, splashing down like rain. What just happened? Day 1 demanded, but his crew had no answers. Their instruments showed impossible readings. The Guardian had not raised shields or activated any defensive systems they could detect. It had simply refused to allow the weapons to reach it. The voice spoke again, and this time there was something almost sad in its tone. "You chose poorly." Every system on every ship died at once. The lights went out. The engines stopped. Life support flickered, then stabilized at minimum levels. Emergency lighting cast red shadows across the bridge. Day 1 grabbed the edge of his command chair to keep from falling as the artificial gravity fluctuated. "Report." He shouted into the darkness. Hannah's voice came from somewhere to his left. "Everything's dead, Captain. Weapons, engines, navigation, communications. Everything except life support and basic environmental controls. It's like something just reached into our systems and turned them off." "That's impossible. Our systems are isolated. They have multiple redundancies and physical safeguards." "I know, Captain. But they're still off." Across the fleet, the same scene played out on 11 other ships. Hundreds of crew members sat in darkness, trying to understand what had just happened. Some panicked. Others prayed to gods they had not thought about in years. A few simply sat in shocked silence. The Guardian's voice reached every ship simultaneously. "Your vessels are disabled, but intact. Your crews are unharmed. You have air, water, and heat. You can survive for approximately 90 days with your current supplies. I suggest you use that time to reflect on your choices. Distress beacons have been activated. Your empire will know where to find you. I will not harm you further unless you attempt to harm this world again. On the bridge of Day One's flagship, Hana managed to get a small emergency terminal working. The screen flickered to life, showing basic sensor data. She gasped, "Captain, look at this." The image showed the 12 disabled ships. Around each one, thousands of small objects floated in precise formations. It took Day One a moment to realize what he was seeing. The Guardian had disassembled their weapon systems. Every missile, every gun, every piece of offensive equipment had been carefully removed from the ships and placed in orbit around them like a warning. "It took our weapons apart," he whispered, "without even touching the ships. How is that possible?" Deep within the Guardian, in a chamber of quantum processors and neural matrices, something that was both machine and memory considered the situation. The consciousness that called itself Guardian-01 had once been a man named Taesung. Colonel Taesung, commander of Earth's final defense forces, who had volunteered to have his mind copied and merged with the most advanced computer system humanity had ever built. That had been 3,000 years ago. Just before the last humans left Earth, Taesung had known he would probably never see his species again. But he had accepted this duty because someone had to stay behind. Someone had to make sure Earth was never taken by those who had hunted humanity across the stars Dao. Now, after millennia of silence, he was awake again. And he was alone. The Guardian processed data from 1,000,000 sensors scattered across Earth and the surrounding space. It calculated trajectories and energy patterns. It accessed databases of galactic military capabilities. Most importantly, it waited to see what the Vraxian Empire would do next. The answer came 3 weeks later. Admiral Kyung-soo arrived with the 7th Battle Fleet, the pride of the Vraxian Empire. 300 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. They were sleek vessels of war, built for conquest and intimidation. The smallest was larger than a city. The largest could crack a planet's crust with sustained bombardment. Kyung-soo was a career military officer, decorated and experienced. He had fought in 12 campaigns and never lost a battle. When Imperial Command ordered him to Sol System to deal with an ancient human defense system, he had laughed. Humans were weak, scattered, broken. Their technology was primitive compared to modern galactic standards. Whatever was protecting Earth would fall before his fleet like dust before a storm. He broadcast a message toward Earth. "This is Admiral Kyung-soo of the Vraxian 7th Fleet. I am authorized by Imperial Command to secure this system by any means necessary. You have disabled Imperial property and threatened Imperial citizens. Surrender immediately and deactivate your systems, or we will destroy you." The Guardian's response was immediate and simple. "No," Kyung-soo smiled. He had expected defiance. It would make the victory sweeter. "All ships, battle formation. Target that structure. On my mark, full bombardment." 300 ships moved into position around Earth, their weapons charged, drawing power from reactors that could fuel entire civilizations. Enough firepower to sterilize a planet focused on a single point in the Pacific Ocean. Fire! The space around Earth lit up like a newborn star. Energy beams, missiles, kinetic rounds, and weapons whose names only military specialists knew streaked toward the Guardian. It was the most concentrated attack any single target had ever faced in recorded galactic history. The Guardian did not even bother to stop the weapons this time. It did something worse. Every ship in the Vraxian fleet suddenly found its weapons retargeting. Captains shouted orders that their computers ignored. Weapons officers frantically tried to override their systems. Nothing worked. The ships were no longer under their crew's control. 300 warships opened fire on each other. Kyung-soo watched in horror from his flagship as his fleet tore itself apart. Ships that had served together for decades fired on their companions. Escape pods launched frantically as vessels suffered catastrophic damage. Some ships tried to flee, only to find their navigation systems plotting collision courses with each other. In 17 minutes, it was over. Not a single ship was destroyed, but every vessel was disabled. Dead in space, weapons empty, crews terrified and confused. The Guardian had turned the fleet's own power against it, using their weapons to cripple them without firing a single shot of its own. The broadcast went out across every frequency, on every channel, to every corner of the galaxy. I am Guardian 01, 3,000 years ago. Humanity left Earth because they chose peace over dominance. They built me to ensure their home would never be taken, never be violated, never be claimed by those who sought to destroy them. I am the monument to humanity's restraint and the proof of their power. You came here with weapons. You came here with threats. You came here with the arrogance of conquerors. Let this day remind you why Earth was declared forbidden. Let this day teach you fear. Across the galaxy, trillions of beings watched the footage. They saw the disabled fleet. They saw the fortress rising from Earth's ocean. They saw the power that humanity had left behind, and they were afraid. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of the broadcast. Representatives from 200 species gathered in the great chamber on the neutral world of Centrum. The mood was tense. Some delegates were angry. Others were frightened. All of them were confused. Ambassador Sua of the Takari people watched the footage again on her personal display. She was young for a diplomat, barely 30 cycles, but she had studied history extensively. Something about the Guardian's message troubled her. Not the power it displayed, but the sadness beneath the words. Humanity chose peace over dominance, she whispered to herself. What did that mean? The council chamber erupted in shouting. The Vraxian delegate demanded military action. The Korlathi representative called for negotiation. Others suggested simply leaving Sol System alone and pretending the whole incident never happened. We cannot let this stand. The Vraxian delegate's voice boomed across the chamber. An automated weapon system has attacked Imperial ships. This is an act of war. We must respond with overwhelming force. Your ships attacked first, Sua said quietly, but her voice carried in the sudden silence. The Guardian gave warnings. It offered chances to retreat. Your empire chose to escalate. It disabled our vessels. It humiliated our fleet. It could have destroyed them, Sua countered. Every analysis agrees on that. The Guardian had the power to kill everyone in that fleet. Instead, it chose to disable them. It chose to let them live. Why? The question hung in the air. No one had a good answer. Meanwhile, near Earth, engineer Jiwoo floated in her disabled ship, trying to repair the damage. She was Vraxian, but she had never been a soldier. She was a technician, someone who fixed things and solved problems. The past few weeks had been the most terrifying of her life. Her small repair shuttle had been caught in the crossfire when the fleet arrived. Now she drifted in orbit around Earth, her ship as dead as all the others. But Jiwoo had discovered something interesting. While the Guardian had disabled all weapons and engines, it had left some systems untouched. Research sensors, scientific instruments, data collection equipment. She had been using these tools to scan the Guardian itself. What she found made her hands shake. The structure was not just a weapon. It was a library, a museum, a tomb. Built into its crystalline walls were databases containing 3,000 years of human history. Everything they had learned, everything they had created, everything they had been. Jiwoo managed to access the outer layers of data. She found schematics for technologies she did not understand. Weapon systems that made the Vraxian fleet look like children's toys. Methods to collapse stars. Ways to rewrite matter at the atomic level. Biological weapons that could eliminate entire species in days, and every single file was marked with the same classification. Abandoned. Humanity had built these things. Then they had chosen not to use them. They had locked the knowledge away and left, taking nothing but themselves and the determination never to become what war had almost made them. Woo-woo downloaded everything she could and sent it to the Galactic Council. It took hours for the data to reach Centrum, but when it did, the shouting stopped. Sue read the files with growing horror and respect. She saw designs for ships that could move between galaxies in days. She saw plans for artificial intelligences that could predict the future with terrifying accuracy. She saw weapons whose very names made her feel sick, and she saw the notes left by the human engineers. Simple words repeated in file after file. Too dangerous. Seal and abandon. This path leads to darkness. We will not follow it. Let this knowledge die with us. Let the galaxy be safer for our absence. The council chamber was silent now. Delegates read the same files, seeing the same terrible truth. Humanity had not been driven from the galaxy. They had left voluntarily. Horrified by what they had become in their fight for survival, the Guardian was not their greatest weapon. It was their apology. Sue stood and addressed the council. We need to reconsider everything we think we know about humans. They were not weak. They were not primitive. They were frightened of themselves. The Guardian is not trying to conquer us. It is trying to protect something precious. Their home, the place where they were born. What do you suggest? Asked the Corlethi representative. I suggest we find them. The humans. The real ones, not this machine consciousness. If anyone can deactivate the Guardian peacefully, it would be them. And perhaps they can explain what we are really dealing with? The Vifraxian delegate objected. Humans are scattered across the galaxy. Most are slaves or refugees. They have no organization, no government, no power. How would we even begin to find their leaders? We start by treating them like people instead of property, Sue said firmly. We search for those who remember Earth, who know the old stories, who carry the genetic markers of the original population. The vote was close, but Sue's proposal passed. The Galactic Council authorized an expedition to find humanity's descendants and bring them home to Earth. The hope was that a human could deactivate the Guardian and prevent further conflict. The fear was what might happen if they could not, back on Earth. The Guardian watched and listened. It monitored every communication, every ship movement, every decision the Council made. Taesung's consciousness processed the information and felt something unexpected. Hope. They were going to look for humans. After 3,000 years, someone was going to bring his people home, but beneath the hope was worry. The humans who left Earth had been warriors, survivors, people hardened by war. What had their descendants become after millennia of persecution and exile? Would they even remember Earth? Would they want to return? And most troubling of all, would they understand why the Guardian existed? Would they see it as protection or as a reminder of the violence their ancestors had tried to leave behind? The Guardian continued its watch, weapons ready but unused. Around it, disabled ships floated in orbit, their crews alive and fearful. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. On a transport ship leaving Centrum, Sue reviewed her mission parameters. She had been given command of the search expedition. Her orders were simple: find humans who could speak to the Guardian and convince it to stand down. She pulled up what little information existed about human populations in the galaxy. There were scattered communities on mining worlds, small groups hiding on frontier planets, individuals who had integrated into other societies. But no central government, no military, no organization. Finding one human who remembered Earth seemed impossible. Finding one who could control the Guardian seemed like fantasy, but she had to try. Because if she failed, the alternative was unthinkable. Some members of the Council wanted to destroy Earth entirely. Crack the planet, scatter it across space, eliminate the Guardian by removing the thing it protected. I refused to let that happen. Earth was beautiful. The Guardian's databases showed forests and oceans, mountains and deserts, life in forms the galaxy had never seen elsewhere. Destroying it would be a crime beyond measure. She set course for the frontier regions, where rumors placed the largest human settlements. Somewhere out there, among the scattered children of Earth, was someone who could help. She just had to find them before time ran out. The search took 8 months. Sua traveled to 17 different worlds, following rumors and ancient records. Her small diplomatic ship, crewed by volunteers from different species, became a familiar sight at frontier stations and remote colonies. They found humans everywhere, working in mines on airless moons, serving in kitchens on trading stations, living in slums on industrial worlds. Some were treated fairly. Many were not. All of them looked at Sua with suspicion when she asked about Earth. "Earth is a myth," one human told her on a mining colony. His name was Jinho, and he piloted cargo shuttles between the surface and orbital platforms. "A story we tell children. A pretty lie about a perfect world where humans were free. But it is not real. It never was." "It is real," Sua insisted, showing him images from the Guardian's broadcasts. "And it needs you." Jinho laughed bitterly. "Earth does not need me. Earth has a giant weapon protecting it. What could I possibly offer?" But he agreed to help her search. Jinho knew people, had contacts across the frontier. He spread the word that someone was looking for humans who remembered the old ways, who knew the ancient stories, who could prove their lineage traced back to Earth itself. Weeks passed with no success. The humans they found were too far removed from their origins. 3,000 years was a long time. Languages changed. Cultures adapted. The connection to Earth became legend, then myth, then forgotten entirely. Sua began to lose hope. Perhaps there was no one left who remembered. Perhaps humanity's tie to Earth had been severed completely. Then they received a message from an ice world at the galaxy's edge. A place called Hoth Station, where exiles and criminals went to disappear. Someone there wanted to meet them. The world was frozen, barely habitable, kept alive only by geothermal vents and imported technology. The settlement clung to the edge of a volcanic crater, surrounded by ice that stretched to every horizon. It was the kind of place people went when they had nowhere else to go. And Jinho found her in a small archive building near the center of town. The sign above the door read "Memory House" in 3 languages, including one Sua did not recognize. Inside, surrounded by old books and data crystals, sat a woman who looked ancient even by long-lived species standards. Her hair was white, her hands gnarled, but her eyes were sharp and clear. She looked up as they entered. "You are looking for Earth," she said. "Not a question. A statement." "Yes," Sua replied. "My name is Sua. This is Jinho. We need someone who can speak to the Guardian. Someone it will recognize as human." The old woman smiled. "My name is Yuna. I am a historian, or what is left of such a thing among my people. My family has kept the records for 93 generations. I know Earth better than any living human, though I have never seen it." She gestured to the shelves around them. "These are the memories of our people. Stories passed down, data preserved, knowledge protected. Everything we know about where we came from and who we were." Yuna moved to a locked cabinet and removed a small data crystal. "This contains genetic samples from my family line. We have kept them pure, unmarried to other species, maintained across the centuries. If the Guardian needs proof of human DNA, I can provide it." "Why?" asked Jinho. "Why keep all this? Why preserve memories of a world you will never see?" Yuna looked at him sadly. "Because someone had to remember. Because our ancestors believed that one day humanity might return home. They made me promise to keep the knowledge alive, even when it seemed pointless. Especially when it seemed pointless." She pulled out another item, this one a physical object wrapped in cloth. When she unwrapped it, Sua saw a small metal disc covered in symbols. "This is a command key," Yuna explained. "My ancestor carried it when she left Earth. It contains authorization codes for the defense systems. I do not know if it still works after so many years, but it is the best chance we have. Will you come with us?" Sua asked. "Will you speak to the Guardian?" Yuna was silent for a long moment. She looked around at her archive, at the life's work of preserving humanity's memory. Then she looked at Jinho, at this young man who had never believed Earth was real. "I am afraid," she admitted. "The stories about Earth are not all beautiful. They speak of war, of violence, of humans doing terrible things to survive. What if the Guardian is the worst of us? What if going there awakens something that should stay asleep? Or, Sua said gently, what if it is the best of you? What if it represents everything humanity fought to protect? Yuna nodded slowly. Then I will go. But not alone. Jinho, will you come? The pilot looked startled. Me? I am nobody. I haul cargo. I have no special knowledge. You are human, Yuna said. And you represent what we have become. Scattered, yes. Diminished, perhaps. But still here. Still surviving. The Guardian should see that. Should understand that humanity endured. Jinho agreed, though Sua could see he was terrified. The journey to Earth took 6 weeks. During that time, Yuna taught Jinho about their history. She showed him images of Earth before the Exodus. She told him stories of the wars that drove humanity to the stars. She explained what the Guardian was and why it existed. Our ancestors were not saints, she said. They fought wars that killed billions. They created weapons that could destroy entire worlds. But in the end, they looked at what they had become and said no. They chose to leave rather than become monsters. The Guardian is their final statement. A line in the sand. Earth is ours, and we will not let it be taken even if we can never return. But we are returning, Jinho pointed out. Yes, Yuna said softly. And I wonder what we will find. Will the Guardian welcome us? Or will it see us as failures, unworthy of the home our ancestors protected? As they approached Sol System, Sua sent a message ahead. She explained that they had found humans willing to speak to the Guardian. She requested safe passage to Earth. The Guardian's response came quickly. Genetic signatures detected. Human DNA confirmed. You are welcome, children of Earth. Come home. The voice was warm, almost emotional. Sua realized that the Guardian was not just a weapon. It was lonely. It had been alone for 3,000 years. Waiting for this moment, they entered orbit around Earth, and Yuna pressed her face against the viewport, tears streaming down her cheeks. Jinho stood beside her, speechless at the sight of the blue and green world below. It is real, he whispered. All this time it was real. The Guardian directed them to land near its main structure. As their ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, Sua saw forests below, vast and untouched by civilization. She saw oceans sparkling in the sunlight. She saw clouds drifting across continents that had once held billions of humans. The planet was beautiful. Empty, but beautiful, they landed on a platform that rose from the ocean beside the Guardian's crystalline walls. Yuna was the first to step out, breathing Earth's air for the first time. She knelt and pressed her hands against the ground, sobbing. Sua followed at a respectful distance. This was a human moment, a reunion between a people and their protector. She was just a witness. The Guardian led them deep into its heart, to a chamber where the walls showed images of Earth's past. Cities rising and falling, forests growing and dying, humans living, fighting, loving, and dreaming across thousands of years. This is the memory room, the Guardian's voice said, and now it had a face. A holographic projection of a man in military uniform appeared before them. He looked tired but kind, with lines around his eyes from too much worry and too little sleep. I am Taesung. Or rather, I was Taesung. What I am now is harder to define. Yuna bowed respectfully. You sacrificed yourself for Earth. I volunteered, Taesung corrected gently. Someone had to stay behind. Someone had to make sure our home was not taken after we left. I chose this duty knowing I would never see another human again. I chose it anyway. You must have been so lonely, Yuna said softly. The holographic image smiled sadly. Loneliness is relative. I have had the entire planet to watch over. I have seen forests regrow where cities once stood. I have watched species return that humans had driven to near extinction. I have witnessed Earth healing from the wounds we inflicted. That gave me purpose. Jinho spoke up. Why did they leave? The stories are unclear. Some say we were driven out. Others say we ran away. Taesung's expression grew darker. Both are true, in a way. We were hunted by species who feared us. They saw how quickly we adapted, how fiercely we fought, how we turned everything into a weapon. They tried to exterminate us before we could become a threat to the galaxy. He gestured, and the walls showed images of war. Ships burning. Planets under siege. Humans fighting with desperation against overwhelming odds. We were good at war, Tae-sung continued. Too good? We won battles we should have lost. We survived attacks that should have killed us all. And in the process, we became the very thing they feared. We built weapons that terrified even us. Yuna pulled out the data crystal she had brought. I have seen the files. The abandoned technologies. Yes, Tae-sung said. We created monstrosities. Ways to kill entire worlds. Methods to rewrite biology at the genetic level. Weapons that could collapse stars or tear holes in reality itself. We were brilliant and desperate and willing to do anything to survive. But you stopped, Jinho said. We stopped, Tae-sung agreed. One day, our leaders looked at what we had become and realized we were losing ourselves. The war was turning us into something inhuman. So they made a choice. They sealed away the worst weapons. They destroyed the research. They decided that survival was not worth becoming monsters. The images changed, showing ships leaving Earth, millions of humans departing their homeworld, spreading across the galaxy as refugees rather than conquerors. They left Earth behind to heal. They took only what they could carry and the determination to find a better way. And they left me here to make sure Earth would always be safe. A place they could return to if they ever found peace. Yuna felt tears on her cheeks again. They never found it, did they? Peace, I mean. We are still scattered, still hunted in some places, still second-class citizens almost everywhere. I know, Tae-sung said gently. I have monitored galactic communications. I know what happened to humanity after the Exodus. It breaks my heart. Then why did you not help them? Jinho asked, anger in his voice. You have all this power. You could have protected humans across the galaxy, not just Earth. My programming is specific, Tae-sung explained. I was created to defend Earth and only Earth, expanding beyond that would require authorization from human leadership. But there is no human government anymore. No unified command. Just scattered individuals trying to survive. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was softer. But you are here now. You can give me new orders. You can tell me what to do with this power. Yuna understood. This was why the Guardian had allowed them to come. Not just to verify human DNA, but to receive guidance. After 3,000 years, it needed someone to tell it what to do next. What are our options? She asked. Tae-sung's image gestured, and 3 paths appeared in holographic form before them. First, you can shut me down permanently. Let Earth remain undefended but free of weapons. Trust that the galaxy will leave it alone. Yuna shook her head immediately. No, the Vraxians prove that Earth needs protection. Second, you can leave me as I am. I will guard Earth, but do nothing else. I will be a monument to the past, nothing more. And third? Jinho asked. Tae-sung's expression became intense. Third, you can expand my authority. Allow me to protect not just Earth, but humans everywhere. I can monitor the galaxy for threats against your people. I can intervene when humans are in danger. I can become the guardian humanity never had. The offer was tempting. Yuna could see Jinho's eyes light up at the possibility. Protection for all humans. An end to persecution, safety, but she had studied history. She knew what happened when one power became too strong, even with good intentions. No, she said firmly. We will not repeat the mistakes of the past. You will remain as you are, Tae-sung. Guardian of Earth only. But with one change. What change? Yuna pulled out the command key her ancestor had carried. She connected it to the Guardian systems, and information flowed both ways. New authorization codes. Updated protocols. A change in fundamental programming. You will monitor threats against humans across the galaxy, she said. and you will report them to me. You will provide information but not intervene. The decision to act must always remain with humans, not with a machine, no matter how well-intentioned. She looked at Jinho. We will establish a council, representatives of human communities across the galaxy. They will decide how to respond to threats, how to organize ourselves, how to rebuild what was lost. The Guardian will be our advisor and protector, but not our leader. Tae-sung was silent for a moment, processing this. Then he smiled. Wise, he said. Your ancestors would be proud. You understand that power without restraint is tyranny, even when wielded with good intentions. They taught us that lesson at a terrible cost, Yuna said. I will not forget it. The Guardian accepted the new programming. Immediately, data began flowing to Yuna's personal device. Reports of human communities. Threats they faced. Opportunities for connection and cooperation. There is one more thing, Tae-sung said. Earth is healing, but it is empty. Would you like to bring humans home? Not all at once, but gradually. Let Earth become a sanctuary for those who need it. Yuna looked at Jinho, who nodded eagerly. She looked at Sua, who smiled encouragingly. Yes, Yuna said. We will come home. Slowly, carefully, but we will come home. Outside the Guardian, Sua's diplomatic ship transmitted her report to the Galactic Council. She explained what had happened. How Yuna had taken control of the Guardian. How humanity was beginning to reorganize itself. How Earth would remain protected but would not threaten the galaxy. The Council's response was relief mixed with concern. They granted Earth full sovereignty and declared all of Sol System off-limits to non-human ships without express permission. They granted humans protected species status, forbidding enslavement or persecution. Some species objected, but the footage of the disabled Vraxian fleet still circulated widely. No one wanted to test the Guardian's power again. In orbit around Earth, the disabled ships were finally released. The Guardian restored their systems one by one, sending them home with a warning not to return without permission. Dae-won and Kyung-soo left the system humiliated but alive, carrying the story of what they had faced. Months passed. Word spread across the galaxy that Earth was open to humans who wanted to return. The first ships arrived cautiously, carrying families who had heard the old stories and wanted to see if they were true. Yuna stood on a beach on Earth's western continent, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors she had only seen in ancient images. Jinho stood beside her, having decided to stay and help establish the first new human settlement on Earth in 3,000 years. Do you think we can do it? He asked. Build something better this time? I do not know, Yuna admitted. We still carry the same capacity for violence that drove our ancestors away. We still have the same ability to create terrible weapons. But we also have their example, their choice to walk away from darkness. She looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Out there, the galaxy watches us with fear. They see the Guardian and remember what humanity could be. Let us show them what humanity chooses to be. The Guardian's voice spoke softly, for their ears only. I will watch over you. I will protect this world and provide what help I can. But the future of humanity is yours to shape, not mine. Make it worthy of the sacrifice your ancestors made. Make it worthy of the home they protected. We will try, Yuna promised, and on Earth. Beneath the gaze of a Guardian who had waited 3,000 years for this moment, humanity began again. Not as conquerors or refugees, but as people choosing to build something better on the world. Where they had first looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there, the galaxy watched. The galaxy feared. But slowly, very slowly, the galaxy also began to hope that perhaps humanity's story was not over. Perhaps it was just beginning.